Are we on? Are we recording? Good. Can you hear me? Welcome to Truly Heal and Ozone at Home. Now, for those of you who listen in, just write into the chat box very short whether you can hear me, because we have a lot of people on this call and I don't want to talk and you don't hear anything. So, Kim, yes, can hear you. Susan, Mary, Frank, okay, all working. Thank you. Let's get started into Ozone, because I've packed a whole lot into this webinar to really clarify all the questions that have been submitted, that have been asked repeatedly, so that we really make it as practical as we can. Now, before we start, those of you who don't know who I am, Markus Freudenmann. I'm not a doctor. My journey started, like everybody else, as a patient and as a friend of a patient who was diagnosed with cancer. To find a solution, I started massive research, and because we had the opportunity and the finances and the time, we traveled around the world and interviewed hundreds of doctors, stayed in the most stunning clinics, and created from that the documentary Cancer is Curable Now, written the book Healing Cancer with Common Sense, Truly Heal from Cancer, and then created the Truly Heal Academy, where we now educate health coaches and health practitioners from around the world in a protocol that we call cause finding. We look for the root causes that trigger the disease, that prevent recovery, and that give you the fastest results. So the approach is more focused on what do we need to remove to make the body heal, instead of what kind of treatments can we offer that may or may not work, all right? So I won't go into that into too much detail, but just to give you a little bit of a background. Ozone has been one of those treatments that was used in every clinic that we came to, especially Europe's standard. And that's why we thought we need to put a lot more effort in educating the public, because, you know, it's kind of one of those doomsday treatments where everybody's kind of scared and doesn't know whether it really works. It's a phenomenal treatment. Now, very simple, ozone is a natural effect. When you have lightning in nature, you have lightning, extreme high voltage going through oxygen, then two oxygen molecules, O2, are split in half, and then you have two quivering singlet oxygen, highly energized oxygen molecules that don't want to stay on their own. So they will attach to another O2 molecule and create O3. Now, depending on the speed of air and the electric voltage, you can create a lot high concentration ozone, or if the air goes through very fast, low concentrated ozone. And that's how we regulate it in our device. Now, ozone itself is absolutely safe. If you look at many of the studies that have been published, there is very little to no side effects, and those who have been reported are very easy mendable. But still, if you look at 384,000 patients, 5.5 million treatments, and only 40 incidents were reported, that results in 0.507. That's nothing compared to Panadol, which everybody takes, and it's 0.04. A lot more dangerous than ozone. So don't worry about everything you've been told. There's only two things you need to know about it, and we'll teach you them in this webinar. Now, ozone controversy is pretty much promoted by those who don't earn money if you get well and have a cheap treatment. Big Pharma doesn't earn a single cent if your doctor sells you ozone. They only earn money when he sells you remedies, antibiotics, and all of those things, which we know don't work in many cases, but ozone does. And if you go through those calculations, how much a practitioner can earn, you know, $6,000 a month with 10 patients, 3 treatments a week, and Big Pharma has not a single cent on that. Well, you understand that their objection and why they object doctors using this treatment and not even educating them about this treatment. Now, in regards to what kind of oxygen we need, because we convert oxygen into ozone, as I said before. it doesn't really matter what kind of oxygen you get because it's always the same. Oxygen is oxygen. It's just filled into different bottles. You have oxygen that is filled into a medical, usually aluminum bottle, or industrial, and then depending on which bottle you use, you need different regulators. But we'll sort that out. When you purchase your item, you can select which country and then where you need and what kind of oxygen you need, and that's it. Now, medical oxygen is 99.8% clean because of the bottle, and industrial oxygen is 99.5% clean, which for the purpose that we use, it's 10 times better than any oxygen generator that uses room air to concentrate. So don't worry about anything that you hear about different oxygen bottles and how dangerous. Again, that's all propaganda to keep you away. Oxygen should be in everybody's home. Everybody should have those bottles to use them for different treatments. And if you know how valuable it is, you would have that bottle since long. All right. Now, ozone advantage. Fast track your recovery with 5 ozone steps. And I want you to understand that because I hate this idea of this is a cure for cancer. It's not. It might help with cancer patients if this is one of the trigger points, one of the causes that suppresses your immune system, or one of the things that prevents your body from healing, but it's not a cure. It removes one particular problem. In this case, it kills off pathogens. Now, when you understand how cells work, a cell is an individual item with a mitochondria and with a membrane, and that cell has a protective shield, and that's what we call an enzyme shield. So when a virus comes along and wants to dog onto that cell, they bounce off because that protective enzyme shield prevents them from penetrating, so the virus bounces off or dies. Now, a cell that doesn't have this well-protective shield, then the virus comes along, drills a hole into it, releases its sperm, and then uses the cell to replicate. And that's why if you have unprotected cells, you catch a virus and it starts multiplying. You catch a bacteria and it starts to replicate. So the problem is if your cells aren't well protected, you are in danger of catching any flu, any infection, any problem. And that's what we know from patients who have a very low immunity. They have already a viral load, they have already bacteria overgrowth, and then they go into an area where there is more different viruses, they catch them on the spot. Where somebody who has a very good enzyme protective shield around their cells, which is made out of superoxidase dismutase, reductase, glutathione peroxidase, and catalase. That's the main enzymes that protect your cells. And to build those enzymes, your body needs oxygen. So the more oxygen you feed into the body, the more you have that power to withstand all of those objections. And that's what ozone will do. Now, what happens to cells which don't have that protective shield? For example, pathogens, all the bacteria, fungi, mold, they don't have this protective shield. So what happens to them? Ozone comes along, that singlet oxygen oxidizes them and they die. Which means you have selective killing. Healthy cells thrive and they love it, whereas unhealthy cells die. And that's selective treatment of only the infected parts of your body, and all the others are really thriving. And that's why when you have a lot of cells in your body infected, a lot of viral and bacterial load, you need to start very slow because the die-off can be quite intense, which then can cause a Herxheimer reaction. So it's always important that we ease into the treatment, and I'll explain that to you in a moment. Advantage number 2, very important. All immune cells need a lot of oxygen to work. So when you look at this little white blood cell down here, you see that with music, don't know how to turn that off. You see how it chases the bacterium? Now, while it passes through the red blood cells, the white blood cell, come on, while it passes through those red blood cells, it takes on the oxygen from all those red blood cells and uses it for the respiratory burst. Now, what that means is that you have, like if you go running, if you chase somebody that stole your wallet and you run behind them, what do you need? A lot of oxygen. And that's what your white blood cells need as well, not only to catch, but also to overcome the bacteria. They produce out of vitamins and oxygen in the cell hydrogen peroxide, and that is then the killing effect for the bacterium. So in order for your immune system to have not only the energy to chase, but also to overcome and kill bacteria, they need 100 times more oxygen to create that oxidative burst. And that's what we provide, again, by giving energized oxygen into the body. See, ozone is released into the system and immediately turns into oxygen again because it releases those singlet particles straight away to your system. So it works for a few seconds and then it turns back into oxygen. And that's what we need. Not again. I need to turn off the sound. All right, number 3, and you can watch that video on YouTube. It's really great. I like it because it shows exactly how sophisticated our immune system actually is. Advantage number 3, again, very important. What carries oxygen into your system? It's the hemoglobin in your red blood cells. So when your red blood cells are all stuck together and are all very solid and rigid and don't really move, then you don't take oxygen through your cells, you just push a sludge through your blood veins. And that's why taking ozone, first of all, energizes your blood. So instead of having clumps and coiled up coin rolls, you energize and all your red blood cells are individually float, bounce off like ping pong balls from each other and carry oxygen into your system. Now, as soon as that happens a few times and your body learns that there is a lot of oxygen coming, then they produce new red blood cells. We call them super blood cells, super red blood cells, because they take on oxygen faster and also release it faster. Your normal blood cells, as soon as they have not enough for themselves, they become greedy. They don't let go of the oxygen, they use it up for themselves and don't provide enough to organs and to tissues, and especially where they need to squeeze through fine capillaries. That's when it becomes a lot more pliable, more soft, and that's one of those advantages why it works for diabetic neuropathy, wound healing, all those things where your blood needs to go to the fine capillaries, fold together and get the oxygen to the system. Advantage number 4 is that it is killing selectively. It kills off germs, virus, bacteria, even antibiotic-resistant bacteria. It is fungicidal, inhibits candida, mold, and many other pathogens. And where was it here? Even antibiotic. And it increases leukocytes, which is the production of white blood cells, and phagocytes, which is the phagocytes are also a part of your immune system. You have about 7 of them, and it triggers a release of new ones. It even creates heat shock proteins on unhealthy cells. So if you have floating cancer stem cells in your system and you release ozone into the body, then they are flagged with heat shock proteins, which then allows your immune system to deal with them and kill them. And then we have the advantage, which is really number 5, that it cleans up aquariums. Now that's a very interesting subject, but you can use it for pools, you can use it for aquariums. And what is the human body? If you have ever listened to an interview with Dr. Bruce Lipton, you know that we are 75-78% water. And there is cells swimming in plasma. And that plasma is like the water. And there is fish swimming in that petri dish, as he calls it, with the skin around. And if you see how individual your immune system works and that all those cells have their own job and task, it's quite easy to compare them to those, cleaner fish in an aquarium. Now what they do is they use, and you can see this here in this aquarium, completely algae overgrown, lack of oxygen, and then they use ozone to clean it out. And if fish survive and they thrive in it, and all of a sudden they have a much higher concentration of oxygen, and it should be good for us too, right? And that's why I've installed this Ozone Swim device in our pool. And it was phenomenal when you see all the flushing out. And it was like a huge crystalline sand at the bottom. And that was all the toxins washing out. And then going into, we cleaned it out afterwards. And now the water is like spring water. Every Olympic pool has to be ozone cleaned because the Olympic swimmers won't go into chlorinated pools and toxic pools and bromide pools because it irritates and it causes a lot of damage. But, you know, it's only during the Olympics and then they revert back to chemicals because they sponsor too well. But it is really important, so it washes out chemicals. Now, we are all polluted with plastic, PVC, BPA, BPS, PHAs, all the petrochemicals. If you put sun cream on, which is based on petrochemicals, or if you've used Nivea, which is based on petrochemicals, with lots of carcinogens, well, then you put that on, where does it go? It doesn't evaporate, it's absorbed into your body. And then it flushes through your body to the liver. The liver can handle a portion of it, but then the rest is stored in fat cells. So you have a high toxic load of petrochemicals, and they are flushed out with ozone. They actually dissolve. And knowing that you can use toxic waste, this is industrial waste, cleaned slowly with ozone, you realize that there is an immense power in this treatment to have an anti-effect of infertility. All those plastic and petrochemical toxins are actually one of the main contributors to infertility. And that's what you flush out and you wash out, and by repeatedly doing that, you cleanse the body, and that's one of the detoxification methods it uses. Now, do we have questions so far that relate to what we just said? And I really would like to focus not on general, because I cover so much more just to what we said so far. No sound? No sound? No, sound is back. There was a short break, sorry. Do you have any? Ozone Swim, I'll put a link underneath, and then you can contact David directly, the producer, and order one for your pool at home. It is really a very, very simple and easy system. Yes, I'll cover all the treatments and what you do and how you use them for detoxification in the program as well. And no, we don't have the Ozone Swim for sale. No, it's not. You're not. We're talking about medical ozone. That was only an example that I used. All right, let's move on. There is a few questions, but I cover them in our next section where we look at the most popular treatments. Now, as we go through afterwards and we talk about all the different diseases, then you know which treatments we talk about. So the very first one I would like to cover is ozone water. And don't worry about the setup. I've created an individual separate video. You find that in our FAQ, and you also find it as soon as you purchase the device. It's the first video that you get, and that will tell you exactly how to set up, how to cut the hoses, how to make those little combination things that you use, with stop valve and all of that. I won't cover that in this video, it just takes too long. Now let's just take a bottle of water, and then you take your ozone hose that you have, connect that to your ozone generator, put that into the bottle with the bubble stone. Now, I don't have a hose to connect to my bottle. Let me just go and get that very, very short. Here we go. I didn't connect that. Now we connect the oxygen. And I'll just show you very short. You see, I have industrial oxygen here. So it's like medical. I connect that and turn on. and set the bubble rate to 1/2. See, 1/2 is probably the most used concentration. You can set it if you have a very urgent infection, Helicobacter pylori or something, you can set it to 1/4, but that's not necessary. Now we need power, half prepared. I should have done that before. Now we plug that in, you see the red light. Now I turn on the green. Now the ozone generator runs. In 4 minutes to 5 minutes, this water is ready. Very powerful ozone water, highly energized, and that's what you drink. Now I have put here a little bit of a checklist. Fill cold water into the glass bottle. First of all, glass. You don't want to use plastic. Plastic, as we know, dissolves with ozone. That's why all of this accessory is ozone proof. And it's very expensive to use, so don't use plastic bags for your treatment or plastic containers. Insert bubble stone with stop valve. I have installed the stop valve already. Bubble for 5 minutes with ½ liter. Increase intensity to 1/4 liter if you have a very intense infection. Before drinking, blow over the bottle rim. I won't go through, turn it off. Then take out your bubble stone, that's it. And now you can put that aside for tomorrow. I turn off the bottle because we don't need that anymore. Now that water is ozonated. I haven't done 4 or 5 minutes, but you can imagine that. Now, what is very important, there will be bubbles still rising, and because ozone is heavier than air, in that rim up on top here will be now all ozone. And the only thing that is dangerous about ozone is that you're not allowed to breathe it in. Now, if there is a little bit of ozone smell in the room, don't worry about that. That's really irrelevant. But high concentration, and now sitting up here in that rim, that high concentrated ozone, if I would breathe that in, that's harmful. So we don't want to do that, right? So what you do is, you take your bottle, take a deep breath, and blow over the top. Now it's gone. You can do it a second time from the other side if you want. And that's it. And now you drink about that much in the morning and the same amount in the evening, and that's it. So don't worry about anything. You know, you don't need a big bottle, a small one. You do that in the morning. We usually share in the family. I make the ozone water in the morning, and then the bottle goes around and everybody has a glass from it, and that's it. So if you have family members, you can use the whole bottle up. Cheers. Now, ozone water has a very special taste that not everybody likes. I hate it. But it is so good and it has so much effect on your health that you don't want to miss out on it. This is ozone treatment number 1, ozone water. It should be mandatory because, first of all, it activates you with oxygen. Singlet oxygen gives you a lot of energy. And secondary, it kills off especially stomach-related bacteria. And don't drink it to a meal. Always half an hour before, half an hour or an hour after a meal, so that you don't dilute your stomach HCl. Always keep drinking a little bit apart. I get up in the morning, very first thing, turn on my bottle, make my ozone water, and have that while I go to the toilet. And when I come back, I drink the water and then have straight away my insufflation. I'll talk about that in a moment. So it's a very fast, very easy process. Ozone bagging is another treatment that is quite relevant if you have, let's say, toenail fungus. And if you have infections, fungus, between your toes, anything that you need to treat externally, especially if you have open wounds, if somebody has diabetic neuropathy, dying of areas, you had surgery, you have scar tissue, you have open wounds, open infected wounds, you take this bag and you don't need to use the whole bag. If you can tape it off, you can cut it into small sections. Again, we have a whole training video how to use it in different parts of the body. But what you would do is you go in with the limb that you want to treat. Let's say I have toenail fungus and you imagine this is my foot. I would go in here and then tie off here, because I don't need to treat the whole arm. I only need to treat here. Let's say I have a surgery problem here. I would cut a piece off at the top, tape that here, tape it here, and only treat this piece where I need it. The smaller you make the area that you actually activate, the better it is. It really works mostly over open wounds and infected areas. So, now in your accessory bag, you have all the connectors, everything you need to make those treatments work. And you take those two connectors, and these are the two, and I should actually blend in a big image. I'll do that, an image underneath. These are the two connectors. They go in twos, so you can separate the top part from the bottom part. Now you would take the inside into the bag exactly on top of where your wound is. And then make a little hole into the bag, put the top cover over, and then connect that to your ozone generator. And you can see here, I have my hose that I used for water. I connect that to the bottle and then connect that to the inlet into the bag. Again, I don't need to go into too much detail. As soon as you purchase, you have a complete training video about bagging with all the details in it. And then you go a bit further on the opposite side to make the outlet so that everything that blows in here with ozone goes directly onto the wound. And at the opposite end, it pulls back out into the destruct unit. And destruct unit is MnO3, so it breaks down ozone back into oxygen. You remember what we said? You don't want to breathe in high concentrations of ozone. And that's why we destroy it. All the excess that goes into the bag is squeezed through here. You can blow through, it's very easy. And that will then take all the ozone back into oxygen, so you have no risk in the room. That's ozone bag treatment. And again, wash wound with ozone water. You can fill ozone water into a little spray bottle and then spray onto the wound and pat it off, clean off the pus, and then connect ozone to the outlet, bag exactly over the wound, and connect destruct unit at the opposite end of the bag. Back here to treat over here the inlet and the outlet. Seal the bag with either a tie or a tape so that no ozone can escape. You can tape it. I wouldn't do that with my arms because there's too many hairs to pull off the tape afterwards. So what we use is, you know, those little rubber bands that you use for blood taking, and I put them then up front and back. Set oxygen level to 1/4, 1/8, or even 1/16 and blow ozone directly onto the wound and infections. Again, very important, if you start doing the treatment, start out with a low concentration. 1/4, and you can see that here, I'll blend the image in and put it underneath. 1/4 produces 42 milligrams of ozone per liter. You remember, if I have a slow flow, it has a high concentration of ozone. If I blow a lot of oxygen through, it has a low concentration. So for wound healing, you would use about 42 milligrams, 1/4. But you can go up to 90 milligrams. And that's something I would build up. So be slow, be careful, ease into the treatment, do the first one, see that you don't have any reactions. And if you don't, then you can go up and really disinfect that area and support your immune system to heal a lot faster. And then evacuate all excess oxygen, ozone out of the bag. I forgot to say that. When you are finished, simply, you know, it's blown up, all the air is fully blown up, then you just squeeze it and reduce all the oxygen, ozone into your destruct unit so that you can afterwards get rid of it and it doesn't, you know, blow into the room. Okay, we've done this, and dress wound with ozone oil afterwards. You have ozone oil, ozone gel, very high concentration, and you can put that onto the wound, put a padding over, dressing over, and that's it. Bagging. Now, next one is rectal insufflation. The most favorable treatments for most men. They love that. You know, they always feel they miss out if they don't get that treatment. every single guy that comes along and says, do I really have to put that up my butt? Is there not another way? You can go to the doctor and have major autohemotherapy, which means they put a very, very big needle into your arm, take about 60 milliliters of blood out, then they put ozone into the flask and swill that so that it oxygenates and oxidizes, and then they put that back into the vein. It takes you about probably half an hour waiting to an hour waiting time with the doctor, then an hour treatment, then depending on driving, and you do 3 of those treatments a week. And you do 5 rectal insufflations and it has the same value, and you can do them in the morning 5 minutes at home. So it's just convenience and saving a lot of money, because going to the doctor for ongoing hemotherapy, autohemotherapy, is quite expensive. All right. Now, when we look at the rectal insufflation, it's a very, very easy setup. You have in your box treatment bags, and those treatment bags, they have 200 milliliter, 400 milliliter gaps. So what you do is you connect that to your ozone generator, hold it down, put your finger over the 200 milliliter gap, turn on your ozone generator, then turn on your bottle, and now it starts producing ozone in the concentration that you need, fills this bag. I turn it off again because I don't want to blow too much ozone into the room. Now you can see this top compartment is a little bit thick, blown up with ozone. Now I take my catheter, very gentle, very thin, very, very harmless. You take that, it has 2 little holes, screw that onto this lure lock connector. Done. Now I go and dip a little bit into ozone oil, go to the bathroom or on my bed or on the floor or wherever you want, comfortable, laying on the side, and then you insert this about this far into your rectum. The higher you go, the less pressure you will feel. If you go only that far in, it will be very easy to fart out that wind very fast. So you want to hold it a little while, and that's why if you go up that far, absolutely fine. Then you roll up your bag, squeeze all that ozone into your colon, into your rectum, pull the plug, unscrew this connector, and then wash out the syringe. You can use the catheter. You can soak up a little bit of warm water in your syringe and flush that 2 or 3 times through, wash it with a bit of soap, and that's it. Put it aside for the next day, and that's rectal insufflation, the most powerful treatment of the lot, because it's a systemic treatment. This is how you build your oxygen concentration up over time. Again, let's go through. Set oxygen flow regulator to the Kuba protocol settings. Once you purchase on the website, we have the complete protocol settings. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. They've done a lot of research, and over 30 years now, different protocols have been developed. We have on the website the most prominent, which is approved by hundreds of doctors, and that's what we use. We start out in the very first way just to feel our way in with 1 liter, then we go in the second week to 3/4 of a liter, half liter, and then we go up to 1/4. And all of them have different functions. So follow those instructions, go through very carefully, and you will find you have the biggest results. Again, I've tried my own ways, high concentration, really give it what he can, and I created a lot more problems than that was good. So follow those instructions, do it safe. I always say, if somebody has already made the learning curve, I don't need to do it again. No, that's not true. That's not how I say. I need to make my own learning experiences, but it's certainly important. Okay, now, sinus treatment. You can treat all your sinus treatments as well with ozone, and that's pretty simple. All you do is you take your syringe, we have 2 syringes in there, you screw that on. Now you open up the ozone generator, the ozone oxygen bottle, you fill your device, your syringe with ozone. I didn't turn it on because I don't want to do an ozone treatment now on camera. Now let's say this is filled with ozone instead of oxygen. You hold it like this in your hand. Again, full-on training videos in Once you've purchased, you can really take your time, follow through. I've done a lot more detail for you to understand. But what you do is very simple. You breathe in, fill your lungs that no air can go into your lungs anymore. Very important. We don't want to breathe ozone into our lung cavity. So you go in, hold one nostril closed, put the syringe here, and squeeze up the ozone into your nose without talking. Not like me. And then once the time is over, 1 minute, 30 seconds, you breathe everything out through your nose and your mouth. And do that out in the balcony. Do it out in the open. You don't need to do it in a small room because then you get the ozone into the room. You don't want to breathe it in, right? Do it by a window, do it by a door. Sabrina, morning, opens up, the balcony goes out, and then she has her treatment. So again, I show you, you're done. And then you fill up the syringe, again, with ozone in 3 different strengths. You start out with low and you build your way up. Now you have ozone in here, hold it, or do it in the other hand. Now take a deep breath in, nose closed, shoot it up, hold it, out, gone, right? Absolutely easy. Now don't do that when you have right afterwards a presentation, a talk, or a webinar. If I would do it now with ozone, I would be sneezing and sniffing and, pus coming out, water coming out. It's a cleansing process. You kill off bacteria in all those sinus areas and you repair the mucous membrane. And that's what we want. So it's a great treatment, but it's not something you want to do just shortly before you have visitors. Okay, let's look very short. Set the oxygen flow regulator to 3/4 in the beginning. Very low concentration, very thin. You don't want to have really adverse reactions. Ease into the treatment. Then if you feel well and you realize that you can handle it, go up to 1/2. And if you want to, you can go up to 1/4. If you have a severe infection, you want to get rid of that, 5 treatments, and that's done. That's all that you require. So it really is a very powerful and very fast treatment. Take a deep breath in before you fill your lungs to the brim. Then hold the nostril closed, blow vehemently, very fast, the ozone up into your sinus area. Hold for a moment and then release all air from your lungs and blow it out. And repeat for the other side. I just want to know that you understand the treatments as we go for those different diseases, because then you know what I'm talking about. And then ear treatment. In your bag, in your accessory bag, you have 2 little short blunt needles. Again, you fill your syringe with ozone. Again, I don't turn on ozone, I just turn on oxygen. And it fills my syringe, as you can see. Once it's full, I unscrew, turn off the device. And now I put on this little needle. And I don't have Q-tips here. Forgot that. Preparation. And they're upstairs in the bathroom. So just imagine I have those 2 little cotton swabs with a tube in the middle. Now what you do is you cut that in half. As you cut it in half, they're hollow. Then you can put them over this needle. So you have 1 tube and a little cotton swab here at the end. And then you insert that into your ear as far as you can so that it's comfortable. Don't push it too hard. And then slowly blow the ozone into your ear. Very simple. Again, training videos are there. Repeat for the other side. Now for those of you who have ear infections, it's a treatment that you do 2 or 3 times. It's not an ongoing treatment. This is only until the infection subsides. If you do it in healthy ears, you might cause itching and irritation, and don't do that. This is a treatment that you only do if you have ear infections, because it releases a lot of the toxins, a lot of the pus. Those areas are very prone to clog up. So you only want to heal it and not to constantly treat. That's it. So vaginal treatments I'll explain in the video afterwards, because it's pretty much the same setup. You would use the hose that you take for water and you put that on, and then you connect a new one, not the catheter that you use for your rectal insufflations. You use a new catheter, and then you do that, set the same as Cuba protocol insert that into the vagina, and then you can flush out with that, with this catheter directly as it blows in. And what is quite nice, you can also fill in ozone water into the syringe or into your bag and lubricate. See, the vagina should not dry out. And the problem what we have is with air, oxygen and ozone is drying out. So you would want to use ozone water beforehand and rinse and flush to lubricate, and then go in with the ozone gas and have the ozone treatment. Very, very powerful for all sorts of candida and fungus and overgrowth and thrush and infectious diseases, sexually transmitted diseases. All of that can be treated with ozone. And that's what we want to go into right now to show you all the different applications. Deborah, do we have a lot of questions? Yes, some. Sinus. Okay. Can we treat cancer directly with ozone? Okay, I'll cover that. So it's very important that we just talk now about everything that is related. And Deborah, you save all those questions. They're all about different applications and different diseases. Don't mix it up. We'll go into those now. If you have questions related to setup, then that's more important. Okay, what is? Yeah. The question was, do we have all these equipment in one pack? Yes, that's exactly what I forgot to put on my table. When you order an ozone device, it comes in one of these boxes. You have 10 catheters. You have 3 insufflation bags. You have all the hoses and bubble stones. You have the oil, you have the syringes, you have the stop valves, you have all the clips, the accessory bag. You have a treatment bag and the destruct unit. Plus you have the ozone generator with power cord, with connector, and the flow regulators that you need to connect to the bottle. So it's all packed. See, this was our main thing. We know ozone is great, but then you start ordering here something and here something. We get all those pieces from Italy, from France, from Germany, from many different places, from Canada, and put that all together so that you don't need to search around and don't know what to use. It's all in the box. But I'll cover that again at the end. Any other question, Deborah? They're all application. Yes, we do have a special offer, and you need to wait till the end. I don't release that right now. I know many of you don't want to spend a long time on the internet, but let's just go through so that you learn what you use it for. Now, for me, ozone has brought probably the biggest change into my life of all, because I have a lot of problems too. You know, I'm not only a health researcher, I'm also a patient in many concerns. One of my biggest problems was leaky gut. IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. When I went to the colonoscopy, he was like, oh. You know, and I just heard those comments the whole time when he went through with his camera. And I looked and I was like, okay. So leaky gut was a severe issue for me. And when you understand the principle of leaky gut, you realize that this membrane that protects you from the outside world and keeps the inside sterile is actually quite important. So think about, you have food that goes in, toxins, sprays, pesticides, herbicides, you know, all those things that we don't want, BPS, BPA, all going into your mouth, and then it's digested, broken down, and in the end you have high bacteria overload in your poo, right? So it's a process, but it still should stay outside of your body, and only nutrients, minerals, vitamins, and water should get in. All the rest we don't want, and that's what you want to poo out, right? So when you have all this stuff going through here, your membrane, and this is what we call a mucus-associated lymphatic tissue, this is the filter that filters out what is allowed to go into the body. So you have receptor sites here that your cells take up and release into the plasma, into the blood. But because we eat toxins, glyphosate, all heavy metals, all of that, and that goes through, that causes deterioration to our tight junctions. These little things are tight junctions that glue the cells together. And as they break, then undigested proteins, bacteria, all that can go into your system. And that is highly dangerous. So it's not just a little bit of a problem, this is a massive problem. And you probably notice the first thing is food sensitivities. When that happens, you know you have leaky gut. But you know there's a lot more. If you have celiac disease, multiple sclerosis, autism, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel, eczema, dermatitis, ulcerative colitis, all the skin-related issues, arthritis, food allergies, Crohn's disease, brain fog, all of that is a secondary disease from leaky gut. Because as soon as toxins go into your system, your immune system needs to deal with it. They pollute certain areas of your body. And a lot of people say, why is it not the same problem for everyone? Very easy. Look at the digestive tract. You have problems in your stomach. Then you have problems in your small intestine. Which area of the small intestine is problem? Then it goes into the big intestine and into the colon. Which area here is infected? You will find that dependent on the most infected area, you will have different forms of disease. So some people will develop more arthritis, while other people have more skin-related issues, while other people have more allergy, others have brain fog and problems with the mind and concentration problems. It depends which area is most affected, where the bacteria get into your system and need to be dealt with by your immune system. So it's a very complex thing, but all of those diseases are an effect of leaky gut. So it's really important to take care of that. Now look at this colon cross-section. You see all those villi? They extend the surface membrane so that your body can take up all the nutrients. It takes up all through those villi area. This is a very, very intense area of absorption. And you can see here those tight junctions, how those two cells are glued together. Now, if those tight junctions, that protein links, are deleted, destroyed, or gone, then the food goes in between. And that's when we have that problem. There is a test that you can do, which is with lactulose and mannitol, 2 sugar molecules that you drink, and then you check out how much of that goes out with your urine. And you can see how the gut permeability is after 6 hours. And if there is a high permeability of big molecules, like those large ones, then you know you have leaky gut. If there is, for example, no little ones coming through, or very little, then you have absorption problems. So it's a very beautiful test that you can order from Genova. And Genova provides gut permeability test that gives you a lot of clarity. Now, leaky gut is really something, you remember we have sinus, we have our throat and tonsils, and in the back, our digestive tract, all mucous membrane, which is, you know that when you use homeopathics and you put a drop on your tongue or under your tongue, it's absorbed through the mucous membrane directly into the body. And that's why this absorption, inside, outside, is the most prone for infections and infectious diseases. That's where your immune system lives, in all sinus or in all digestive tract areas. And that's why that's where you have problems. If you have leaky gut, you will have sinus and mouth problems, frequent cold, food sensitivities, joints, like I said, arthritis, fibromyalgia, headaches, chronic fatigue, adrenal burnout. You have colon, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, Crohn's disease, like I mentioned. You have thyroid, Hashimoto, Graves, skin, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, all of that, and brain, depression, anxiety, ADHD, all of that. We have children that use a tiny bit of gluten and they go into a frenzy. They go into a complete maniac just because they can't handle that gut permeability. As soon as gluten goes into their bloodstream, they react instantly. And that's a food sensitivity based on leaky gut. So dealing with that is really important. And I don't know, my font has somehow screwed up. It's all over the show, but I won't repair it now. When you start dealing with leaky gut, Yes, ozone is one of the most important parts, but there is also other things that we share with you in our Ozone University. And we really go through protocol, what you need to do, how you can expedite the process, how you can find the root problems, what kind of tests are there. Really phenomenal. Because once you start healing the gut, you don't want to destroy it at the same time. You know, I always use that example with a hammer and glue and a hammer and glue, and in the end I have a mess. You need to stop the hammer for at least the time that you do the healing. That's my problem when I travel. I sometimes screw up and then I'm starting again. It's really important if you have fast results, want to have fast results, that you be quite consistent. All right. Now this is a beautiful image that shows how it repairs tight junctions and repairs all your cell structure. Now this is a colonoscopy, a cross-section of the cells, and you can see here everything is completely destroyed by Clostridium difficile. It's a bacteria that eats up your gut membrane. This one here is ulcerative colitis, really completely destroyed gut membrane due to inflammation, due to infections. Now look, after 4 weeks of rectal insufflation, look at how this is changed into healthy tissue. The same thing here, how this has differentiated. Your cell structure is repaired. One of the most powerful effects of ozone is tissue repair. That's why it's used tissue for open wounds, to repair tissue, regenerate skin, reduce infections, support your immune system in healing. It's the same internally. So when you use it rectally, you repair tissue, and you can see that here in those cross sections. Really powerful. 4 weeks, and if 4 weeks don't last, like in my case, with cheating in between, it took me 12 weeks. But who cares? 12 weeks compared to months, years of damage. This is really very, very powerful. And again, do we have questions to leaky gut? Deborah, any questions come in? How often do you do the treatment with leaky gut? Which kind of treatment? Okay, ozone water in the first place, morning and evening. Ozone water will help with bacteria overgrowth, will balance out bacteria, and will reduce infections. You don't drink it to the meal, half hour before, 1 hour after you eat something. And that's the first step, morning and evening. Best is evening before you go to bed, to energize the body, to have the energy to do the healing. Then you have rectal insufflations, which is your insufflation bag and your catheter. So you set that up and you do rectal insufflations as a treatment, and that you follow the protocol. It's 4-week protocol that you start with very low concentration, then you go up in concentration and a little bit in volume. You don't really worry too much about the volume. Always stay with around 200, and that's it. So insufflation, rectal insufflation, and ozone water is all you need to do to heal leaky gut. There is nothing else that you would need to do. Sinus infections, if you have problems, you can do that on top, but it's not something that will help your gut healing. So it's very important. Next question. Same thing. The concentration of the ozone water, the question is how strong do you, or how wide is it so short? Why do you have to bubble the water so short? Very short, simple. If you have those normal ozone generators, I have mine not here anymore, but I explain that in the training videos. They produce very little oxygen is converted and more nitrogen is converted. We have 75 nitrogen, 25 oxygen in the air. So when they convert that into room air into ozone, there is a lot of nitric acid in the program and very little oxygen. So they take half an hour for what we can do in 5 minutes. 5 minutes saturation level is complete if the water is cold. You can put a few ice cubes into it or put it into an ice bucket and then bubble the water so that it stays cool. And then pour it into a glass and drink energized water. Marcus, I have the ozone generator at home and I've been using it, but I get a lot of mucus in my stool, and after the treatment, is that normal? Okay, that's one of the problems, one of the side effects that can happen, that in the beginning you have a big discharge. Let me just go back. You see all this mucous membrane, mucus, slime, it's full with liquid, and that is completely destroyed. So when you start healing that and your cells start to differentiate, they will release lots of that. So there is a discharge, and that can be in the beginning a mucus discharge in your stool, but as you repair your gut, as the cells start to define again, that will reduce and will be gone. Caroline, what did you say? Where is it? At the bottom? Okay, is there a problem with bloating? Every time I use ozone, I start bloating. Okay, very simple. Reduce the concentration, try at a lower concentration and build up. A lot of people, they don't really look for concentration. If that's your main issue, then probably you react too strong. You can have such high gut dysbiosis, bacteria, which then all die off, and that creates then that bloating. Just start at a lower concentration, maybe do every second day to build up and slowly get rid of your bacteria overgrowth, which is probably unhealthy. What else do we have? No, I'll cover that. Okay, yeah. I'll cover the other ones as we go through, because lots is in the slideshow. Let's get on. Infectious diseases. I know this is something very few clinics look at, very few clinics deal with, and it's very unfortunate. So we need to have a lot more focus on that, because if our body is not healthy, if our body is not well, like we've said before, just a lack of oxygen will then allow that defensive shield around every cell to dissolve. So you have no protection. Bacteria, fungi, everything can start up. And that's what Dr. Rao explained really nice. It should be the other way around. It should be a sweet water tank and you have a shark in here. But we just couldn't find the images. So this is a goldfish into a saltwater tank. What happens if that goldfish falls in here? It dies, right? Because it's made for a different environment. The same thing is, if you have bacteria that go into your body and they are not suitable for that environment, will they thrive? No, they will die off. So if I have a healthy environment and bacteria and virus come, they have no ground to hold on. But if my environment is compromised, then it might well be that they thrive. And this is the biggest problem that we have. 1 in 30 people, 1 in 30 that are infected with Lyme disease will develop stage 1 or 2. That's huge, right? So if you have 1 in 50 people will develop stage 3. 50 people infected with the same virus. So it depends on your body milieu. How much is already out of place? If you have high toxicity, high heavy metal, mercury poisoning, you have bacteria, you have co-infections, you've been vaccinated, you have a lot of thimerosal, mercury in your system, you have already a compromised immune system, latent, slow-acting viruses that they injected you with for your travels. All of that together breaks down your immune system. So usually it's not just one thing that triggers Lyme disease, it's many things together. And that's why bacterial and viral infections can only happen when the environment supports the invasion and provides a good breeding ground. Now, what are those problems that we have? Immune system has never fully developed, nor has it been trained. You know how your immune system trains, becomes powerful and strong? By having fever. So when you have a child and there is measles or mumps and those children get the disease, what is the body doing? It builds fever, then it builds, due to the fever, lots of white blood cells in the bone marrow, sends them out and they start to scavenge up everything. Because of the fever, you have a higher blood flow, higher blood oxygenation, higher activity, and then they gobble up all the bacteria, and usually it's a 3-day gestation. Then you have the peak, with fever, and then it has a 3-day flare off. After a week, your children are top-notch fine. They have grown, they have trained, their immune system has learned a massive lesson, and the disease is gone. They're immune for future. So when we give them vaccination, they never go through that training process. They never get to that flare up of the immune system. So killing that with Panadols, you know, this is probably one of the biggest problems that we have in our society. Every headache, every problem, everything is suppressed with Panadol, and fever is reduced. So you don't want to do that. Fever is the natural healing reaction of your body. So you want to have fever as often as you can to train your immune system to get rid of that. Rudolf Steiner declared very nice. He said 12 fever bursts are necessary for kids to develop a healthy mind, a healthy immune system, and to grow up into a healthy human being that has a chance to survive our onslaught of bacterial and viral infections. Your immune system has been destroyed. Antibiotics, medication, fever-suppressing drugs. You know, antibiotics don't only kill bacteria, they kill everything. They kill your immune system too. And then you don't recolonize, you don't recreate, you don't repair. That means you have no immune defense. And then presence of cell wall deficient bacteria, antibiotics which themselves cause a lot of harm. This is, again, another big problem that we face today. The use of antibiotics doesn't kill bacteria. It doesn't kill them. It only strips the membrane potential of them so they can't interact with anything, but they're still there. They're still pee and poo, which means they cause chronic problems, chronic infections, and other issues because they've never been dealt with. Fever and your immune system is the only way to get rid of them. So fever is a really important therapy, and because it produces heat shock proteins. Did I mention before that ozone creates heat shock proteins and all of those cells too? That's why your immune system can attack them. Ozone will actually kill those cells on contact, not all at once. You can't bathe your body in ozone, but step by step by step, with every treatment you do, you get rid of a few, you get rid of a few more. You make your other cells healthier and stronger that they can defend themselves. And over a 4-week, 8-week period, 12-week period, you completely shift the balance in favor of your healthy cells. And that's why this is so important. Severe lack of amino acids and unsaturated fatty acids was observed in almost all, which brings us back to that vegan vegetarian diet. You need to be careful that you supplement well and that you get all those amino acids still into your system so that your body can work properly. Deficiencies in minerals that support your immune system, zinc, selenium, iodine, all of that is really crucial. So if your body doesn't absorb it and you don't supplement it, then there is not a lot of chance. Again, we talk about those people who have severe infectious diseases. We need to check all of those things in order to give them a best fighting chance, not just a little bit. Heavy metals and neurotoxins are a big problem. And I've just created a webinar last week about mercury and how toxic it is. So be aware of that, watch it, and start the detox process. It is really crucial because that suppresses everything and then triggers all of those infectious diseases fivefold. Dysbiosis, lack of gut bacteria. Look, I won't go through all of that. This is in your training, and I'll explain that in the end. Once you purchase a device for leaky gut, then you get it with all the accessory, and you also join our Ozone University. I'm finished with the recording. All videos have been done. They're uploaded. We're just building the website. By the end of next week, everything will be up. And then if you have purchased for leaky gut and you say, okay, that's the only reason I bought it, but now my child has an infectious disease, or my mum has Lyme disease, or my uncle, then you know how to use the same equipment for that disease as well. And every single piece that you need to know is in that academy, is in that university. clearly defined what to do, what supplements, how to test, how to check. So I won't go into too much detail here. I just want you to understand that infectious diseases don't come because by accident somebody coughed on you. You need to have the allowance, the milieu weakness for that to thrive in you. And that is what we need to recover. And that's where ozone has a massive role. Infectious diseases, chronic viral loads, mainly neuropathic, slow-acting viruses. Like I said before, if you had a lot of vaccinations, then you will have so many toxins in your system that suppress the immune system already that it's a massive build-up that you need to overcome. And we'll go through all of that. Now, Lyme disease responds to ozone quite dramatically. There is plenty of evidence. I just had 3 days or 4 days ago an interview with a young man who had Lyme disease. He bought his own generator. He was starting to use ozone regularly. After 3 months, all symptoms gone. Now I have other patients who are a lot further away, very, very long-term disease, and it took them half a year. But ozone is an incremental part. You can't get there without. So if you have someone with Lyme disease, tell them about it. Share it with them. It's probably the most inexpensive part of their whole treatment, but it will give them an incredible advantage. And because it's so gentle and you can reduce the reactive load and build up slowly, they don't need to go through massive Herxheimer reactions and painful processes because they can just do it a little bit slower. Immune boosters at the same time, hypothermia. I have a whole webinar on that. It is probably very important for you to know. It is the second best treatment that you can do for infectious diseases to have incredible results. Hepatitis C, very powerful, response to ozone dramatically. You can see here, load very high. After 2 months of rectal insufflations, 1/3. And then 6 months, it goes down. Does it ever go completely away? See, that's the big problem that we have. I thought I did a treatment and it should be all gone. That's not how it works. You will always have all bacteria in your system. You will always have all viruses in your system. And it's not that they attack you now and then you get sick. It's like, now I weaken my system. Oh, and then all of a sudden they become opportunistic and take over. So it's really important you bring the load down and maintain a healthy milieu, and then the disease vanishes on its own. Same with HIV and AIDS. There is plenty of research that shows that 300 cases directly in a late stage could reduce the HIV virus. And work with your doctor, talk to them, show them the research, show them what's possible and whether you should use ozone. At least observe the progress. Take your values, check your HIV load, and then go and do your treatment for 4 weeks. Very gentle, start out, build up the process, and then test again. If your load has gone down, hey, celebrate and keep doing it. Don't overdo in the beginning. Don't cause stressful reactions to your system. Do it very slowly. Do it like the good clinics do, and therefore you will have lasting results. Questions to infectious diseases? Okay. Deborah, anything? Yeah, Lyme disease is multifactorial. You don't just do ozone. You always check different parameters. Very important is your alkalinity and acidity. It's your glutathione peroxidase, glutathione status, the master antioxidant of your system, which you need to check. You need to have all of that. We need to know how you methylate. There are a few things. Again, in the university, I cover them each individually to give you the best starting ground, where to search, what to do, but it's multifactorial. If you have a very high, Dr. Mutter said that, if you have a very high load in heavy metals, then that's a big problem. You need to reduce the heavy metal load in order for your immune system actually to work. So when you have your whole gut full with mercury, your kidneys full with mercury, your brain with mercury, and your mouth, then that's a permanent pollution that completely stops your immune system. And actually, it's very dangerous because mercury, for example, would mutate your bacteria into nanobacteria, which really is a very dangerous thing because they then turn mercury into methylmercury, which is highly toxic. So that blocks your whole immunity, your whole immune system. So getting rid of heavy metals is eventually, in your case, necessary. So don't just rely on one treatment. Go through a thorough evaluation, check what main problems are, what kind of co-infections you have. In Switzerland, in the clinic, it's quite expensive, but they do a whole range of different tests, whether you have any tropical viruses, any co-infections, and what they can do best to resolve them. So ozone is part of the treatment, but it still is important that you look for everything else. What is another question? There's so many. No, the question was, is hepatitis C something you treat only with ozone? Again, all of those viruses and bacteria that we have are opportunistic and take over only when the milieu allows it. See, that's why sugar-rich diet is very bad. Sugar feeds bacteria, so it's very prone for inflammation. So that's number one. So you want to check your status, metabolic status. You want to see how you detoxify. All those bacteria produce massive amounts of toxins. You know, they pee and poo. So does your liver get rid of those toxins, or do they recycle in your system over and over and pollute you more and more? Do you have the possibility to deal with antioxidants to get rid of that load, to give you that advantage? You remember Dr. Gordon said there is no cure with vitamin C, but it gives you the time to deal with the disease and find different solutions. So having high loads of antioxidants, whether that's astaxanthin or vitamin C or glutathione infusions, all of that will break down that massive toxic load and help you detoxify. And then you go in with ozone to deal with those cells, strengthen your system and build it up. It's never a single thing. And this is why I was in the same shoes. I was in the same boat. I always thought there must be one thing that we can do and that works for everything. It's always multifactorial. And that's why when you go to those expensive clinics, they have like a whole range of protocols and treatments that they offer you, which cover toxicity, cover infections, cover your immunity, all the deficiencies. They put you on a drip and fill up your deficiencies. And that's something we need to recreate at home in a very simple form. And that's why ozone is one part of it. And in the academy, I teach you in the university. I don't know why we called it Ozone University. It was just an idea and that got stuck. But we'll teach you all of those steps as well so that you know exactly how to get through. All right? More? Okay. The approach to dealing with chronic infectious diseases is always gentle. Don't overdo it. The question was, is there a way to expedite the process if you're at a very late stage? Yes, there is, but it is not by doing more and more hard. It's actually by being consistent. See, a lot of people, they think if I do more, I'm prime number one. I have to put up both hands. If I do more, it helps more. That's not always the case. If you build up your immunity with oxygen and make your cells more reactive, and at the same time you bring down the toxic load, you use a lot of sauna. Sauna is phenomenal. If you do regular far infrared sauna, you detoxify, you strengthen, then you bring up new nutrients. With ozone water, you balance out your gut biome. Then you have better oxygen and better uptake, bacteria balance. So all of that is a slow acting process, and that will help you to get better without massive side effects. Think of a massive die-off. All bacteria die off, all bacteria that are filled with toxins released at the same time. It knocks you out, which sets you back a week. So that's why all doctors that do a detox process and rehabilitation process do it as slow as they can. So plan 8 weeks of steady, progressively building up, and then you're done. And then it won't come back very fast because you changed the milieu. Remember, we want to change the fish tank. Okay, this is the easiest treatment of all, but it requires you to use all of the equipment. You know, if you have an infected wound, really make ozone water first. Fill it into a little bottle, spray that bottle onto the water onto the wound so that it's disinfected. It's also opening up the pores, it's soaking up. Take a pat and wash off dirt and pus and all of that which comes out of the wound and make it clean. That water sterilizes as well and energizes, so it's already a great thing to do. Then, once the wound is clean, use the bag, put that over, and really gas that area with high concentration of ozone. You can bring that up to 90%. It's the only treatment where you use 90% or 80%. So you treat that area superficially. Once it's done, you clean up your bag, put that aside, and then you take the ozone gel. This is super high concentrated ozone oil. It takes us, no, Siri, shut up. We don't want you. You still back? Something I said was upsetting her. So this oil is high concentrated, and you can see it doesn't flow. It's like a real thick gel. And that gel is what you put around the wound. Maybe if you put it directly on, it might burn, so be careful, put it around. You know, in Germany they use a little syringe with a needle, and then they do ozone underneath the skin, tiny little air bubbles, which then your immune system can take, use for energy, and deal with the infection, deal with scar tissue, deal with anything. They put it around the tumor in little air bubbles so that your immune system can use the ozone to actually kill off the cancer. So there's many ways to do it. I don't tell you to use needles, right? It's not in the program. We have home treatment, not needle treatment. So if you use it this way, it is very, very safe. So put the oil around it. If it doesn't burn, you can put it onto the wound because it supplies with oxygen, it supplies with energy, and then just wrap it with air, open, you know, just cotton strips and bandage so that it can still breathe air. And you will see in a very short time, we have a beautiful testimonial from Cheryl Seelman, 94-year-old elderly lady with open legs from laying in bed. All her calves were completely open. They were talking about amputation. They were talking in hospice that they couldn't do anything anymore, completely antibiotic resistant. And she was using that track, and the nurse came back and said she's never seen in 15 years of dealing with elderly people, not once seen this healing effect. This lady completely cleared up, built a skin over the top, and is healing. They do daily treatment 5 days a week, and it works wonders. So even in a conventional clinic, they realize, oh, there is some truth to it. So let's look at this. Any more questions to, where was we? We were at infectious diseases. Nothing anymore? Okay, I'm confused. I just lost track. We're already at wound healing. So those bags are very powerful, very easy. And if you look at some of the images in research, you know, diabetic neuropathy means there is no more healing. There is no more blood supply. There is no more possibility for your blood to repair, to send immune system there. So as soon as you start washing off, then you do your back treatment, then you do the oil, and then you do rectal insufflations. And I said before, this is 70% of the treatment. All the other stuff is 30%. So this is really important. You want systemically change your blood oxygen concentration. You want to make your red blood cells release oxygen faster, make them more pliable, that they can reach those areas. You know, for a blood cell to squeeze into those fine capillaries, they need to fold together. They really fold. So when they can't get there, it doesn't work. Look at this. 35 days from this condition all the way to completely healed. 35 days. You know, that leg would go on, get more and more infected, and would have to be amputated. Medicine has no other solution as an end result than to amputate. 35 days. If you look at those huge ulcers and pressure ulcers, how they grow up, this was radiation burn. And radiation burn, again, takes ages because radiation is like Hiroshima. All the area that you radiated is dead. It doesn't work anymore. So healing doesn't work either. It takes forever for the healing process. Now you use ozone water as a spray just over that area. If you can bag it into a bag and you use it with ozone gas, you will realize that the healing process is expedited by factor 6. Why not use that? And here's just another image. You can see it. That's the bags. And they fill in the ozone here and let the outlet, and they ozonate the whole area for diabetic neuropathy. Very powerful. Side effects. This is something I haven't known before. We had only one case so far, and this lady developed a rash after she was using the ozone bag treatment. And it was quite painful, and that rash was not going away very fast. So that's where we started to look into it. And we found that in ozone steam saunas sometimes as well. And there is only 2 reasons, very important. Number 1, individuals with low antioxidant levels are literally burning the body with oxygen and producing free radicals that the body is not able to cope with. So antioxidant status very low. Individuals who react to ozone with detoxification rash are individuals who have vastly depleted antioxidant levels in the body. First thing you want to do when you have a rash like that, go to the doctor and say you want antioxidant. Vitamin C infusion, glutathione infusion, bring your status of antioxidants back. See, if you have no antioxidants in your body, free radicals are taking over, you have no chance to heal any disease. It's actually, you are on ground level with energy, with healing energy. So you need massive amounts of vitamin C. You need to build up, you need to supplement and bring those levels of antioxidant up. We've seen patients who had that rash, within 2 days, their levels were back up. So you can bounce that up very fast, but you need to do that. Who have a lot of toxic waste stored in fat cells. You remember when we said heavy metals and plastics and all of that, your body doesn't know what to do. Oh, pack it into a fat cell. So it's stored in fat cells. Now, if you start slimming or you start going into a sauna or you start using ozone, then that fat cell is activated to discharge toxins. And that's what happens then. You have an overload of toxins and not enough antioxidants to deal with that. And that's why you always need to go first and detoxify. Again, sauna treatment, far infrared sauna, taking that down, clay bath, zeolite, It's always the same thing. It's always that taking toxins down, bringing antioxidant levels up, and then you can do the treatment again and you won't have any reactions. Really simple. Suffering from chronic systemic infections, which results in the accumulation of toxic acid waste built up in the body from the pathogenic organism. You realize I said they pee and poo. All your bacteria, fungi, mold, they have toxic waste they produce. If you have too much of that and you have no antioxidant, you have no way of getting rid of it, if your detox pathways are not working, then you build up more and more. It's like an algae tank, fish tank, overgrowing with algae and bacteria inside, and then you go with one hard treatment and that causes that rash. So you need to be able to do that very gently and repair those systems before. And once you do, all of a sudden you can use ozone treatment very, very fast and have an oxidative treatment combined with an antioxidant treatment. And what is it? Oxidative and antioxidant is like breathing in and breathing out. Very simple. Breathing in oxygen, breathing out. So that's oxidative and oxidative treatment and antioxidant treatment. And that's what you want to combine and build both up. That's why we always say you can't really thrive and go on without good vitamin C levels, glutathione levels, and antioxidants. All right. Side effects when the body does not have adequate levels of amino acids, cysteine, glutamate, the body cells cannot adequately produce glutathione. We said we need the master antioxidant, glutathione, as an antioxidant treatment. Now, if you have not enough amino acids, cysteine, glycine, glutamate, they are the building blocks. So for your body to produce glutathione, it needs building blocks. It needs the ground material. And that's what you can supplement. And then your body is able to produce more glutathione. So that's important. And therefore, glutathione is the first and most important antioxidant to correct in the body, although by no means it's the only one. And then check your acidity levels, pH levels. Very, very important. If you're too acidic, no treatment works. None. No matter what you do, all treatments have hardly any effect. So you want to balance that. You can do that in saliva and urine test. Most clinics, they ask you to do both. You get those strips and then you document both, because one is more fluctuating depending on what you eat. The other one is more stable, so that you see what your values are. And it's a learning curve. It shows you, oh, if I drink this and this, then I go acidic. If I eat this and this, I go alkaline. So you learn by observing those charts really well, and that will help you too. All right, do we have questions to all those external treatments? I think I've covered them in our program and in the university really well. Deborah? Yeah, the interview with Dr. Cheryl Seelman is on her radio show, and I will put the link from that underneath. She did an interview with me, and we're having a webinar together because she's so excited about the treatment, so you can listen to it there, and she will explain the whole process and has images from before and after with her mother. Dr. Cheryl Seelman is the hormone heresy, the lady who helps women with their health and with hormone balances. So I was quite excited when she joined in and started to treat her mum, because I know that she has very influential and has very, very many people that will listen to that information too. Yeah? No, you can't. Sorry. Can you use this bag repeatedly? Ozone disinfects. So if you use, again, I always say it, cut it to the smallest sections that you need. You don't need to use the whole bag at once. You can cut it here and here and just tape off both ends and use smaller sections, because this stuff is quite expensive. This is a very, very special material, because you don't want plastics to leach out. And don't take your shopping bag and do ozone treatments, because it dissolves, it leaches out the toxic gas, and then even causes more damage. Now, that's why you want to save it as much as you can. When you fill it with ozone, it is disinfected. So it will self-disinfect through the treatment. The only problem that you have is when you have pus going onto the bag and body fluids. First of all, you don't want to share with someone else then, because you don't want to pass on the infection. And secondary, it becomes not very hygienic. We have a 5-pack, so you order 5 of those in one pack, and they come with all the little clips and everything that you need. And that is the easiest way. If you have an open wound, see, it goes very fast. You don't need many of them to heal up. And therefore, if you get a 5-pack or 10-pack, you really have that advantage to treat in one go without, that contamination of problems, all right? Anything else? Yeah, well, the combination of all treatments, like I said, this is 70%. And the question was, can I do just 1 or 2 of them if my father wouldn't allow the ozone treatments, the rectal insufflation? Like I said, Cheryl Seelman does only the external because her mum doesn't want to do rectal. Fair enough, 94 years old. She probably doesn't want all that fuss, but it's still, always think, how much do you want to get well? The more you add to the program, the more it will help, the faster it will help. If you drink ozone water once a day, it will have an effect. If you drink it twice a day or even 3 times a day, just a small cup, that's even better. You just expedite the process. Under one circumstance, and this is what I always say, that you don't get a Herxheimer reaction. So if you're full on with virus and bacteria and you drink too much, you could cause that Herxheimer reaction. Overload of flushed out toxins. So don't do that. Build it slowly up, but the more you incorporate everything, like I said, 70% of the power convince people to have rectal treatments. Recently someone said to me, Marcus, everything, coffee enemas goes up your butt, suppositories goes up your butt, rectal insufflations goes up your butt. Do you have other treatments? I said, no, we love butt treatments. Anything else? Yeah, no. I'll cover that when we talk about the university. The question was whether the university covers all of those subjects. Yes, it does, and I'll show you that in a moment. Cancer treatments. There is that problem that a lot of people use cures, and they go and buy Essiac tea, and then they buy frankincense, which has no effect whatsoever. And then they buy this and that and that and that, and they spend a lot of money trying to buy a cure. And in the end result, it very, very rarely works. Let's say about 5%. The rest always thinks, oh, why doesn't it work for me? Why not in my case? And that's why we don't look at the problem, cancer. We don't care about cancer. See, I don't care whether you come with Lyme's disease or with cancer. What we look at is your body milieu. And that's where we take a map like this and then work through and search for the root cause. And when we talk about cancer, what is the main problem that causes cancer? We know that inflammation, proven with hundreds of research studies, triggers cancer growth. Inflammation, there is a degradation of the cell, which slowly turns them into an inflamed cell, infected cell, mutated cell, cancerous cell. Ooh! So if we reduce inflammation, we reduce the chance of growing more cancer cells. If we have toxins, we know that in a toxic environment, like in a prostate, for example, you cut out prostate, you have healthy tissue beside it and the diseased tissue, the cancerous tissue, and you check toxic levels in both, 20 to 40,000 times higher concentration of toxins in the cancer tissue, and the healthy tissue beside it is clear. Proof toxins and cancer are related. They are known as carcinogens, cancer-causing toxins. So that's number 2. What do we have here? Stress, electrostress, electromagnetic stress, too much to do stress, fear stress, all of that. Cancer cells thrive, healthy cells die. Then you have deficiency, same thing. If you are deficient, like a printer, 5 cartridges, and yellow runs out, or yellow and green runs out, what happens? Your copies that come out look all screwed up. And that can produce cancer cells. If your levels of vitamins, of amino acids, of minerals, of all of that is low, then you cannot replicate healthy cells, which means you can replicate unhealthy cells, and that is often a trigger for disease, for cancer, and it prevents you from healing. And then we have lack of oxygen. Stop breathing and you die. Cancer cells need no oxygen to ferment their glucose, whereas a healthy cell needs oxygen for ATP production. So they switch over into a fermentative state. Lack of oxygen, one of the main reasons for cancer. So when you look at all of that, you can say, I deal with these problems first, and therefore I reduce my chance of growing more cancer, and I have the chance to reverse my cancer. And that's what the program is. And it's pretty simple. It's like when you go and have mushrooms growing on that root, you can pull them out, melanoma, and we put cancema on, and then we put black salve on, and we pull them out, one after the other, one after the other. Will they ever stop growing? And that's, the idiocy in all of those protocols. As long as we don't change the soil, rake it up, put some oxygen into it, put some minerals and material in it, cut some branches so that more sunshine comes in, more vitamin D and all of that, and all of a sudden they stop growing on their own. Changing the milieu is the only way to get rid of it. You can kill every cancer cell in your body, we know that, chemotherapy, and still 5 years later, 2 years later, it's back. So if you haven't changed the soil, the ground where those mushrooms grow, then you cannot expect a different outcome. Einstein, you remember? Okay, so that's why we look at all the different problems to resolve. And all the ones that are here in blue are taken care of by ozone. Oh, great, right? We have here the 12 model program. And stress, no, you need to deal with stress in a different way. Ozone won't help, but it helps with oxygenation, with hormones. As a targeted cancer treatment, it deals with infections, it reduces inflammation, it repairs your gut, it reduces your food sensitivities, it detoxifies all the plastics, and it can deal with all the infections that you have in your mouth and teeth and dentals and gum. So it's a very powerful treatment which takes care of a whole lot. And that's what we want. We want treatments that remove the root causes, the root problems, change the milieu in the body, and all of a sudden you can thrive. And that's key. In colon cancer, very closely, that's the most affected area. You have your rectal insufflation and you treat yourself with that. Hey, direct ozone directly onto the cancer. You kill off bacteria, you stimulate your immune system. It's like an external cancer that you can punctuate with ozone around it and put the ozone oil around it so that you start the healing process. Very powerful. This is here tumor growth and reducing, and then scar tissue left after 4 months of treatment. Again, not only ozone, diet change, changing your alkalinity, acidity, nutrient upbuild, getting rid of infections, getting rid of toxicity. All the other things need to be done as well, but the result is phenomenal. So dealing with those things is important. We have here prostate. Now, prostate is a very problematic thing because how do you detoxify heavy metals? Through kidneys, right? That's why when you look at mercury poisoning, you look where the poison settles in the body, kidneys are first affected. Kidneys and intestines, all the toxins store. So kidneys are first in line because they detoxify through the bladder. Urine comes out of the bladder. So all that is not bound goes through the prostate. Build up of arsenic, lead, cadmium, and mercury are main triggers for prostate cancer. So it's the chelation process of the body that pollutes down there the prostate. And then you have bacteria buildup. Bacteria is one of the things that when your system, let's say you have leaky gut, you have bacteria going into your bloodstream, being detoxified in the system, need to be peed and pooed out. Again, there is lots of bacteria, bladder infections, urinary infections. All of that builds up and is never dealt with because your antibiotics don't work. So, ozone will take care of that part. The detoxification part for prostate needs to go through other means. That's why we use PMF in combination with ozone to triple the effects. Like it's the synergistic effect. One PMF, one ozone, bring together, makes not 2, makes 100. It's a very powerful combination because the vibration of the PMF pumps the ozone into the cells, is the absorption greatly enhanced and activates that healing a lot faster. So prostate is really, really responding to those two treatments in a very powerful way. Same with all vaginal treatments. If you look at different types of cancer in that area, you can treat them very effectively with those vaginal insufflations. Ozone wash. You can take a little bit of that ozone gel, put that onto an organic cotton tampon. There's healthy, unhealthy ones. You need to find those out. Or just on a cotton strip and insert that overnight and let that work overnight. Again, infections, infectious diseases, all of that has been reduced dramatically in a very short time. It repairs the mucous membrane. It provides your immune cell with all the support to kill off cancer cells. What else do you want? It's phenomenal. And that's what you want to build up with the treatments. Cancer. Any questions? We have so much still to go through, and I realize we are already way over time, but I would like to make this as beneficial for you as possible so that you really have all your answers. Okay, how do we find out? That's it. How do we find out whether what we need to do, what are the main triggers for disease. Very simple. See, we teach that at the Truly Heal Academy. We teach that to our health coaches and health professionals. They go through a very, very diligent training program to find those root causes, how to look, what are the symptoms, what are the tests, how do I confirm, how do I treat, what kind of treatment, what supports. It's a phenomenal program. Now, if you want to use it for yourself, that's fine. Best is if you want to use it too as a career, because you learn so much on how to help, how to distill. It's a value for life, for your whole family. If you want a coach to work through with you and determine all the root causes, find what's wrong, where you need to work, which area I need to work most in, then go to our website, trulyheal.com. In the shop, click on consultations. It's a subcategory consultation. And you can book a consultation with Sabrina or my son or with any of our coaches to work through this whole program and to find out what's most relevant for you. Yes, see, the question is this process streamlined? Is it automatic? Do we go all through the same process? Yes, it starts with the questionnaire to find out where you are already indicating all the problems. Is it urinary problem? Is it concentration problem? Is it mostly in the brain? Is it mostly in the gut? What kind of stool? What kind of digestion? You know, all those things we go through lifestyle. 225 questions, so it's really intense. And as you go through, we have afterwards a very clear, streamlined idea where your main problems are. Then the coach will recommend which kind of treatment or which kind of test would be required to clarify. And we can fix from the cheapest test to the most expensive. That's all up to you. You know, you don't need to spend $5,000 in tests. We can do it with 500. If you do the necessary, we can often put them into your healthcare so that you can organize them with your doctor so that you don't pay at all, or with your health insurance. So there is many different ways, but we qualify, is our observation right? Is your toxic level high? Is your detox pathways? You can't methylate. You have a completely destroyed DNA pathways. All of that needs to be certified so that we recommend the right treatment. And then once this is fixed, you have a very detailed protocol. And I can tell you one thing. You will save thousands of dollars by doing it this way around compared to trying all those different treatments and then running out of time. I've seen it time and time again. You know, spending $1 million in all those different treatments which don't work because one thing was overlooked. You know, I had a client come back, spend $40,000 in a clinic, and then they came back and Sabrina said, just go down to the doctor. I want full blood test of all those minerals. And it came back, no zinc in the whole system, completely depleted, had a copper zinc blockage. And those things are so crucial and you need to find them. Once you do, it's like that, knowing what kind of infection and how to get rid of it will make your life so much more streamlined. Plus, and this is for me probably the biggest point, I have a clear goal what to do. See, if I have no idea what I'm actually doing and I'm trying a little bit here, trying there, it's very easy to get confused, very easy to get lost. If I have a very clear action plan, I need to bring those toxins down. That's the level right now. In 3 months, I want to have them there. What do I do? And then I check again, and all of a sudden I realize, yes, I have reduced the load. Like in my case, my mercury overload was off the chart. And then chelation treatment, and then bringing it down, ongoing personal treatment, and then the levels went back into the yellow off chart. They were dark red. And that's how you can fix things, and then you realize you're moving in the right direction. And that's what I believe is a much better way than doing it on your own. Oops, what did I do here? Okay, more questions. I don't look here, there's too much. Okay, for cancer treatments, a recommendation for clinics, I've stepped away from doing that. You know, like, it's not because I don't like those doctors. It's not because I don't like what they do. It's actually, a financial question. I believe that you can do 80% at home in a very, very effective way. And you will have a better result than going to some of those clinics and just target what you really need compared to having them run you through their whole, protocol that everybody gets. It's always the same. And I've seen so many patients waste a whole lot of money by following that pathway. And I'm still friends with most of the doctors. They still like me, but I don't recommend that path at all. It has two reasons. When you go to a clinic, you spend $30,000, roughly, 40, 50, 60, depending on where you go. And then when you come home, you still have to do everything else. You still have to go on and get your life in order and do all the other things that are relevant. And that's why doing that first, building up your immunity, building up your detox pathways, getting all that sorted, and then have a targeted treatment at a clinic where you can negotiate the price, empowers you. And I found that from all the patients that we've worked with, those who go and say, "Doctor, make me well, you have responsibility, just get rid of my cancer," they have the least chance of survival. Full stop. Whereas those who really take charge, learn, implement, do, and realize what actually is to be resolved in their life have the biggest chance. And that's why my approach has completely changed. I've referred over 10 years patients to clinics. And I got feedback, "Oh, he didn't help me, he didn't sort out, he didn't..." And that's why if you want to go to a clinic, you can run into that open knife yourself. I teach you what I believe is the fastest and most effective and the most economic way to get well. And that's why I stop recommending, because if I send you to one doctor, the others are angry, I send you to none. Sorry for that answer, but it's my experience now that we have better results in this way. Okay, vulvovaginal candidatitis. You realize it's just always those big words. It's yeast overgrowth, it's candida overgrowth. And to get rid of that, you use the vaginal treatment, and it's a matter of a week or two, and it's all gone. If you follow the Cuba protocol, you start out with a very low concentration, you use the catheter and with the hose, and you do that regularly once a day. You don't need to do more. You fill the syringe with ozone water, flush out beforehand to lubricate, to really get that oxygen-rich water into it. You flush out. You can do 2 or 3. The new packages that we have 60 milliliter, not 25, but 60 milliliter syringes. So you have a lot more flush power. And then afterwards, you connect it to the ozone generator and use direct ozone. And then overnight, put a little bit of that in, and it's all gone. There is actually evidence, and we have on the website for this treatment in the university, research studies that show after this treatment, the bacteria growth going down. And see, that's one of the things that I wanted to say before. It's not just about reducing the bacteria load. That's all well and fine. But we change the milieu. We repair the mucous membrane. We repair the immune system. We provide oxygen that your immune system can work. We recreate that enzyme shield around your cells to actually heal, to protect themselves. With every treatment, you build up more protection. More protection. You kill off more of the pathogens. So it's gradually moving in the right direction that we want. And again, rinse with ozone water. It says here, rinse with ozone water. And I've taken some of those images out from the university. So you see there, it's all built up. Set ozone generator to 20 to 40 milliliter per minute concentration. You start low, you build slowly up. You don't go higher than 40 milliliter liters per minute. Insert catheter until you feel resistance. Don't push too hard. Start with 5 minutes per day to really see, and you can go up to 15 minutes. Place a towel on your lap to absorb the excess ozone. If you take a wet towel and you put that over the top, then you ozone, and just open up a window and you will see that there is no problem. Open a window so there is enough ventilation in the room, or put up a fan. And contraindications, open wound in the reproductive system. which can cause burning sensations, so be careful with that. And transplanted organs, it says that in all research papers. Don't ask me why. Whether there is a rejection, transplanted organs is a no-no. I don't know why. All right, so it's probably one of those things that we just need to be aware of. And there is more. Prevent vaginal infections because you don't want them to come back. You know, by making an environment which is yeast and fungi love to grow, more hostile to for them to thrive. That's a screwed up sentence. I need to rework that one. But make it hostile for those fungi and yeast to grow. Reproducing reduce sugar and high carbohydrate intake. Sugar is the main fuel for yeast. Okay, pretty obvious. Not using antibiotics as it kills off both the good and bad bacteria. Exposure to environmental toxins, which lower the immune system ability to keep candida in check. And that is often to do with your fragrances, those binds and tampons, which are all toxic, and they slow your immune system completely down. You can read that on the slides underneath. See, ozone will do its part, but you also need to remove what slows the healing down. And once you go through those university questions, you will realize there is a huge amount, a wealth of information in there that will open up the backs of Pandora so that you can start healing a lot faster. Before we go into question and answer, I'd rather do it at the end because we've already spent so much time. This is the longest webinar we've done. Let me just tell you very short about the oxygen or ozone generator. Again, we come with oxygen into this device, and in here is a spark chamber which converts it into ozone. So oxygen goes in here, ozone comes out here, you turn it on and off. Very simple, nothing in it except a fan to cool down the ozone generator, and that's only relevant when you have long treatments like the bag treatment where you have, let's say, half an hour where it warms up, and that's why we cool down the spark chamber to keep the flow even and to keep the concentration even. Now, all ozone generators today are safe. There is not that old form of plastic and metal contamination. That's completely gone. So what we do is we have a double quartz glass tube with titanium spark, glass connectors, so it's completely contaminant free. Compared to many other devices, the quality, 10,000 hours. We've changed now, we have a lifetime warranty. These new devices have an Italian spark chamber, which is out of this world, quality-wise. So we can provide you with a lifetime warranty. All you need to do is you need to be careful that there is no water going into the device or body fluids or liquids. And that's why we provide you with 2 of those stop valves so that only out but nothing in. And that's all you need to watch out for, and that takes care of that. The generator produces medical grade ozone concentration from 9 to 99 milligrams, very high concentration, controlled by flow regulator for pure oxygen. Again, it's all one package, and we have now commercial CE approval, which means we can sell this into all of Europe, very important, into China. It can be used in clinics. It's a clinical device. And this ozone generator is exclusively produced for Truly Heal and is covered with an unlimited lifetime warranty, not 3 years. That's still an old slide, so I need to change that. The package, like I said, comes all inclusive, the ozone generator. And this is the ozone generator with a 1.5. And again, we had before 1.5 meter hose and a small 50 centimeter hose for all your accessories. We now pack a 2 meter hose in there, and all you need to do when you set up, cut that into the pieces that you need, depending on how it's placed. So 2 meter hose, international power supply, works for all countries, and we have all the different plugs in it that you can plug it in for every country that you are in. 1 flow regulator, either medical or industrial. On checkout, you will be asked which one you like, and you just click Medical, if you have a license to get medical oxygen. If your doctor prescribes you oxygen in a bottle, you take that prescription, go to the oxygen store, and they provide you with medical oxygen. It is a different fitting up on top. If you don't have a doctor, don't worry. I said this is 99.5% clean, same oxygen. So get an industrial bottle, get a nice one, a new one. Say you want a pretty bottle because it's in the room, and then they provide you with a nice bottle, and that's fine. No difference in what you use it for. Oxygen insufflation bags, 10 catheters, 1 limb bag, the treatment bag. Again, you can order all of those accessory. And then you have MNO3, the destruct unit. You have 2 60 millimeter syringes now, 2 dull Q-tip needles for your ear treatments, and then stainless steel bubble stone that we just had for bubbling the ozone water. Extra hose, that's taken care of. 2 lure lock connectors. To put all of those pieces together, we've added all of those little connectors and screw connectors into the bag. And stop valves, we have now 2 stop valves in the package, and the DVD is run out. We have no more DVDs, so that's not part of it. All right. Express shipping as a bonus for everybody who orders now. We will add shipping separately to it, but right now we just got the delivery in, so you get free international shipping and you get the ozone oil for free. Now, I've ordered that ozone oil in a company in Germany, and it is very expensive. 14-day production time. They produce only small batches. It takes them 14 days for a batch. And that is very, very high concentrated. I spoke with lots of doctors in Germany. Where do you get your ozone oil? Which one do you use? And they all recommended this one. So we ordered a batch and we add that as a free bonus. Once that batch is gone, we start charging separately for it. And this is $100. So you can but you don't need to buy it. So if you don't have open wounds, if you don't have vaginal problems, if you don't have colon or rectal or all sorts of ulcers or, whatever, external wounds, then you might not use this high quality, and that's why we won't keep it in the pack. Right now, it's part of the deal. Plus, we add the Ozone University. We had too many questions. People signed up and they came in and said, I buy this for candida overgrowth, or I buy it for wound healing. And then they realized the potential, and then we get 1,000 questions. So what we did now, we created a private membership area. It's like our education programs for the academy. And in the Ozone University, you then get, as soon as you purchase the pack, in the meantime, get your bottle. That's the first video, and that explains to you what to get, look for, where to get it, the price comparison, what's the best deal. Then how do I connect everything? I show you in a video, and I've put a camera up here on top so that I can show you all the bits and pieces, how they're screwed together, how they fit together in all detail. And then you have a replay of this webinar, and I will make it into individual sections so that you don't need to watch the whole thing. You can go targeted to each area. Plus you have access to our monthly webinar. Leaky gut protocol access, cancer protocol is done, wound healing protocol is done, ear infections anyway, and sinus infections is done. Vaginal infections, I'm just working on all the research studies to share with you. And infectious diseases, we're still waiting for a little bit of feedback. I don't want to publish something which I have not really solid ground, so that might take another 2 weeks. Cardiovascular diseases, because it's used to thin the blood. It's used to expedite the healing in all cardiovascular problems. It takes the inflammation out. So it's really powerful, will come as well. And expert interviews, we have already 5 or 6, but there will be more and more coming as well. And you have access to this whole lot as soon as you purchase, and can then use it like your own little home pharmacy to make this one of the most powerful tools. When you check out, you also have the possibility in checkout to order your accessory kits. So we reduced the price because we can't take out shipping. It's the same product as if you order them separately, but we reduced the price for those who order directly on checkout. So select if you need extra insufflation bags. If you have a family, you don't want to cross-pollinate your bacteria. Use each your own bag and have one spare. So if you use it with different people, you want an extra 3-pack or 6-pack of those. Catheters in the same way. There's 10 in it, but after a while they don't look that pretty anymore. So you can wash them, you can rinse them, you can wash them with soap, you can maintain them for quite a long time. But after a while you want a new one. So 10 will last you easily a month or two, even longer if you're careful with them. But if you use them in the family or use them with friends, you want an extra pack of those. And the treatment bags in the same way. Treatment bags, as I said, when pus, open wound, everything comes to it, you want to have spare to keep on with the treatment until the wound is all closed up. All right? And that brings us to, that's it. That was my last slide. Okay. And Deborah has turned on the Buy Now button, so you see that Buy Now button on your screen. And all you need to do is click that button, go to our website, and for those of you who order in time, you get the oil for free, you get the free shipping, and you get the whole bundle, including the university, directly to your door. All right, we've made it through. Now, if we have a few more questions, I might answer them if they are not too complex. Deborah, what are the questions? Okay. What happens? What happens with warranty? How does it work? If we have bought a device and it fails, how does it work? Very simple. You send it back to us. We have a warehouse in California. We have a warehouse in Australia. You send it to the warehouse and they will inspect, either repair and send it back, or they will send you an exchange. Like I said, we have lifetime warranty. There will be no problem with this device. If it breaks down, the only thing which we check, if you filled in water into the device, let's say you've just connected it the wrong way around and you filled water into the device and the spark chamber is internally contaminated, then it's void warranty. Not for the rest of the device, but the spark chamber. So that's the only thing you need to watch out. And those stop valves are in there. They work perfectly. You can check, I can blow this way, but this way, it's absolutely stopped. So there's no possibility for anything go back into the device. We now have set up in the cart an extra pack of 5 that you can order separately, so that if you use them, you break them, whatever happens, you lose them, that you can replace those as well. That's the only void of warranty that we have. Otherwise, we'll just replace or exchange or repair and send you a device back. All right? Okay, question is very simple. How long does it take to ship? Well, we ship via express. If you order Friday, it goes out Monday. If you order Monday or Tuesday or anyway during the week, it takes usually in America 2 days. USPS, 2-day delivery, express. And if we ship from Australia, we ship overseas. Sometimes, let's say into Europe or into Asian countries, it can take 5 days. If it's stuck at your border, which can happen with customs, then it might take a little bit longer. And that's probably another question. If we ship it to you, we declare it as water sterilizer. So that's probably the easiest way to get it into most countries without flagging any alarms. So it's a water sterilizing equipment, and we declare a quite low value so that you don't get charged with massive amounts of tax and import fees, and that makes it quite easy. Yeah, I said the delivery time is about 4 to 5 days, and if it's shipped via FedEx overseas, in America, in Australia, usually 2 days for you to have the device. Accessories the same way. We ship them as soon as you order, same day goes out. If it's after 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, it goes out next day. How long will the oil be available? I can't tell you. We have ordered 200. We have about 100 left. Once they are gone, we switch over to that you can order them separately and pay separately, but you can also order a lower quality ozone oil, which is a fraction of the price. This one here is super high potency, and in my enthusiasm, I ordered. And I was really shocked when I saw the price. So we only need them for patients who really want that high quality oil. And that's why we put that separate once those are gone. So you still have probably a bit of time, but I wouldn't wait too long. Look, Deborah, I should repeat, we need to install a microphone for her. The question was with cancer treatments and in conjunction with infectious diseases, is there a problem if it's too much treatment at once? Like I said before, and you will find that in our university, we give you timelines, we give you possibilities to observe, you get tests. It really is a very simple process. If you do ozone water rectal insufflations, then that's pretty much all you need to do. And you build that up slowly so that you don't get into stress, and it will work in the same way for your infectious diseases as it will work for cancer. If you then have the possibility to add little punctual treatments and little local treatments to support with cancer, or, to bag that area, and really use a high ozone compress on that, like with the bag treatment. You can treat through the skin, we can do liver detox, we can support many things, and that's all the things that we share at the university. It probably is way too complex to go into all of those details, and I also don't want to do those things myself. That's why I'm visiting many of those ozone doctors and try to sneak into their, behind the scenes, that they teach us and share with us all their nuggets of gold that they've experienced over a longer period of time, so that you really have the information that you need. See, I only tell you what I've learned. I only tell you what I do. I have never promoted any treatment that I don't do myself. I've been ozonating for the past half year to find out how it works for me. All our clients, all our family, my children, all of us do ozone treatment to find out whether it works, how it works, what effect it has, so that when I recommend something to you, I can say based on my experience, based on Sabrina's experience, and that's something based on doctors' experience. Plus, we then add all the research studies so that we really have proof that it works. I don't come from, this is a cure. I always come from the scientific background, what it does, what it helps us to resolve, what root cause it takes away, and that will give you the certainty that you're not stepping into some blind experiment, but into an actual treatment that is proven to work. All right, I think that was a nice sentence to finish up. Thank you all for joining, and thank you for staying with me that long. You can still write questions into the forum. I will answer them. Deborah has probably written back to many of you as well, so we'll keep up the conversation, but for now, let's finish for the day. Thank you all for joining, and see you soon.